Welcome back to Still Loading, the podcast where we talk about the decline of everything, but mostly video games. My name's Aiden.
And I'm Matt.
And today we're talking about MMOs.
Yes.
This is going to be kind of a different tone, because the last few videos have just been things we like, things we miss, things that we kind of like aren't super fond of. Probably going to get in some real hate speak this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Like, MMOs have been like kind of close to both of our hearts, I think, and the one you're thinking of especially, World of Warcraft, that one has gone downhill tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of just like negativity about that, mixed with some good stuff. But before we get into that, I have some exciting news, actually. The new Pokemon game that just came out does not suck. And yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And what's even more surprising is like it's an open world game, and I don't like those at all. And there'll be a whole episode about that, trust me.
Oh, yeah.
But what's exciting about it, it's an open world game I like, and it doesn't suck, and I'm just so pleasantly surprised it doesn't suck. I'll just take a few minutes and talk about it. One of the big things about it is that right up front it knows what it is. It is just a game where you run around, you catch Pokemon, you do stuff with your Pokemon. That's the fucking game. And at the very beginning of the game, it's very upfront about that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It doesn't try and like give you a bunch of things it wants to do. It doesn't try and tell you it's this, it's that, the other thing. It's like, no, this is the game. Just go enjoy the game. And it has no identity crisis, and I love that. There's also just so many different exciting things you can do to kind of just like help the world feel alive. Like there's weird outbreaks that happen of like specific types of Pokemon. There's these weird time rift things that can happen just due to the plot reasons. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff that can happen, and like it just makes the game exciting. Like you might be running around exploring, and all of a sudden like a weird time rift happens that you do. It's like, okay, cool. And, like you get rewarded for it. Like there's interesting things to do constantly, and the world feels really good.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. Speaking of those outbreaks, so I learned a pretty awesome trick for hunting shiny Pokemon, which if you're a shiny hunter, this is the best game for it because it rewards you based on how much work you do on your Pokemon. So like the more you fill out the pages and like actually do stuff with them, the better chance you have getting a shiny Pokemon to just show up in the world. Like your odds just are increased.
Really?
Yeah, so it rewards your time in that way. And then during outbreaks, when like one specific Pokemon is showing up more than the other, that one also has an increased chance of being shiny.
Really?
It's not guaranteed, it has an increased chance. Yeah. So the trick I learned is that, and I don't hear anyone talking about this, so spread this around. The trick I learned is that when those outbreaks happen, when you get close enough, there is a dialogue that pops up that says like, "This is the reported Pokemon. You found it." Mm-hmm. However, if you stay far enough away, that dialogue will not trigger. And if you get lucky, like I have a couple times, the first 4 that have spawned will just be sitting there, and one of them will be shiny.
Really?
And you can just throw a Jet Ball, which is a Pokeball that is exclusive to this game that flies really far. So you just sit back and snipe the shiny, and then leave. And cool. You can cycle outbreaks like this, because if say it's something you don't want, for example, you can just leave and go back to the village, come back in. It might be the same outbreak, but a different spawn. Or a different outbreak, different spawn.
Really?
But either way, every time you come into the world, it is a different spawn regardless. So your chances are reset, essentially. So it's a different one each time. So yeah, this is just a nice way to kind of like snipe shinies off the top if you don't want that Pokemon but still want the shiny. Like, I've done it twice now. It works 100%. So it's just a fun little thing. It adds like a minute to your total shiny hunt when you're doing like the leaving the village, coming back thing. But it works, and it's pretty great. So if anything, spread the video for that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I've played the game for about 100 hours now, and I've barely done the plot. It's
cool.
just fun to run around and do stuff.
That's rare for you. You're not a big open world guy.
No, I'm not. And there'll be a whole episode about that, but this game is doing it right. And it's kind of like what we were talking about in the first episode, like wanting to see game companies take chances and do something different. Mm-hmm. This is new. This is different. This is good.
Oh, cool.
It is finally a Pokemon game that is not the same formula over and over again, and it's not just a remake of a previous IP, just shinier. It's new, it's exciting, and like you should all check it out. It's great.
Well, cool, man.
Yeah, so that's some positivity. Let's get into like the shitty stuff now.
Oh yeah.
So like, how many MMOs have you played in general? Like World of Warcraft, I know, but then like, how many of you would you say you've played?
At length, I find this a very difficult question to answer because I believe the term MMO has evolved a lot. But if we're gonna go like true blue old school MMOs, probably 3. I played World of Warcraft. I started with RuneScape, and I played Black Desert Online. And I'm sorry, but like RuneScape really introduced me to the grind aspect, which is something I love doing. You know, obviously, like if you're gonna play an MMO, you're gonna have at least a little bit of love for the grind.
There's really a zen element to it once you get
Totally.
into it.
Yeah, like grinding professions or grinding skills or whatever it is that that game like holds. Like, yeah, you got to have some love for doing that because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. What I didn't love about BDO was you literally need a second life to play this game. There is no getting around it. Like, I think it's cool that all your characters share the same gather and skill points and all that stuff, but Jesus Christ, like I played that game for probably 2 weeks straight. Like, I don't know, that's not a lot of time, but that's enough for me to be like, yeah, no, like between work, home, I don't have time for that. Like, that sucks. So, yeah, I'd say probably those three would be like my core experience.
The MMO life really is having that second life. Like, you are committing every bit of your time. Like, whatever free time you have, like, you're doing it. Either you're not sleeping when you should be sleeping, or like, you're not doing something until the last minute that you should be doing. Like, that's what MMOs are. I've played a little bit of Black Desert. My kind of like opinion of that game is like there's a shit ton of stuff to do, but for me there's just nothing I want to do.
Right.
There's just so much, but it just none of it feels meaty for me to be like, yeah, I want to take a bite of this. It's just I never got into it. One of my friends really likes it, and like I tried it out when they're doing like a free trial thing, and I was like, yeah, no, this is not for me.
It's excessively knacky, I think. Like, I like knacky stuff, but it seems like everything in that whole game is like, well, if you don't have this specific equipment to do this specific thing, and I'm sorry, I don't like sifting through guides online to figure something out. I want to figure it out on my own. But the veteran player that introduced me to it was like, oh, dude, your build is shit because you're not doing it this way. And I was like, well, is the way I'm doing this not viable? And he said, well, it's viable, but why wouldn't you want the best thing? You know?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that kind of meta really breaks things for me.
Same. I hate meta talk.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my first MMO was actually EverQuest when I was a wee lad. This is when my parents were playing at the time. That game was grindy as fuck. I remember whenever I played it, just doing a lot of the same thing over and over again. And the MMO bug didn't really bite me at the time. That's when I think I got my character at level 30 or something like that. I don't think that's high in that game. But I remember like that game will introduce you to grinding very quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of the game is. I remember my parents and like the people in my family who play that game a lot. Like I remember them just sitting there waiting for stuff to respawn to keep grinding, or like doing something else. And like, man.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad the MMOs have changed. I think the one I got really into first was Star Wars Galaxies.
Galaxy. I didn't play that. I played what's the one? The Old Republic?
Yeah, I have stuff to say about that too, but yeah, Star Wars Galaxies, that's a very niche one because I think the servers either got brought back alive or someone remade them or something like that. I don't know. I've heard stories that you can play the game again, but that's a very niche one because like it only lasted for a short amount of time and then it was gone. And
really?
The people who played it really loved it. And I don't remember it being particularly special, but I think it was more so the community that like made it fun because everyone really loved what they were doing, and that was what was fun about it. The community is like a really big one. Apart from those, I've played a lot of free MMOs just over the years because like I've played World of Warcraft since I was like in high school.
Yeah, same.
And so every now and then we just go for a break, and so me and my friends would be like, "Oh, this free MMO is a thing. Let's try that." So we've played a lot, and there's a game called Requiem. I think it went from Requiem to like Memento Mori to like something else. I think it's been like taken down and brought back several times. That game was fun. It was very dark, had like a lot of gory aspect to it.
Oh, cool.
The art style was very interesting. It had really interesting like weird alien demonic things. Like I couldn't even begin to describe it. Like one of the characters in the video was like looks like a dark elf, but then also has like a demon arm and like I don't even know. Like, it's just interesting. That was one of the classes, too. Like, you have a demon arm. That's a class.
Really?
So, yeah, there's, like, these weird little, like, fairy creatures that were, like, I guess, organically engineered or something like that. And they used, like, big rocket launchers and stuff. Like,
oh, shit.
It was just a weird game, but it was really good. I sad games like that were overshadowed by World of Warcraft at the time. Not that it wasn't deserved. Back then, WoW was awesome.
Yeah, totally.
But it just sucks other titles didn't really get their chance to shine, essentially.
Yeah, you just talking about like obscure MMOs. That made me think of. Did you ever hear of or play like the City of Heroes, City of Villains?
I played DC Universe.
Was that similar? Like, because you were just talking about like incredibly dedicated fan base, and the few friends I had in middle school that played that game were like diehard, like had T-shirts and everything, like diehard about that kind of stuff. And to me, it feels like it was here and gone, just like Hellscape London, which kind of makes me
Oh my
think
god, yeah. Hellgate London.
Hellgate, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got to play it. I just saw at
It's so good.
well, I saw it at Game Crazy, like that's how long ago this was. But I saw the big cardboard cutout they had for it, and I was like, that looks like something I'd be all about.
It was super good. Me and my friends played that very briefly together, and it wasn't like an MMO. It was like a one time buy and you were done kind of thing.
Oh, cool.
So that was nice. No, Hellgate London was awesome. That was a really good game. I hear you can buy that on Steam as well. Like they have like a, it's not enhanced by any means. It's the original game, but apparently you can buy it still.
I mean,
so if you can, that'd be great because it's great.
Yeah, I'll have to do some research because, like I said, I really wanted to play it, but I didn't.
It was good. It had some very interesting classes in that as well. Like they were traditional archetypes of like your mage, your fighter, your whatever, but they were just done really weird. Like the mage class was called an evoker, and your weapons were like these weird gauntlets that had like mouths and stuff on them that like shot
weird.
Fireballs and stuff, and like that was
gnarly.
like, yeah. So it was just weird stuff like that, but it was awesome. No, it's a great feel. It's one of my favorite post-apocalyptic titles. Actually, it's really good.
It looked. I didn't have the words for it then, but it looks like Lovecraftian.
A little bit,
Kind of
yeah.
like that Eldritch feel.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's a good feel. So games like that got overshadowed by WoW for a good reason. One thing I want to talk about is there were MMOs that came out that I just don't feel like they should have been MMOs. They had a great idea, a great concept, but they weren't going to make it as an MMO because of WoW at the time. And also, being an MMO kind of ruined how they felt, essentially. There was just something about it where like that MMO element didn't fit.
Okay.
And it's a lot of titles like The Old Republic, Terra Online, games like that.
Yeah.
They felt like games you played by yourself typically. That's just how they felt. They just felt like a single player experience. But at the time, they just didn't have like a good multiplayer feel. There was just no reason to ever group up with anyone. You could play the story by yourself. You could do dungeons on The Old Republic, but it felt more so like annoying because like that game is all about choices. BioWare did really good story RPGs, and you wanted to like do the dark side thing, but your other people in the party were like, "Oh, I want to do the light side thing," and like it would just conflict with the story you're trying to have. So it didn't fit. Games like that, like eventually they went free to play, and free to play is where MMOs go to die because
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, like they got 80% of what the game had in it, and you can only access those features again if you have like a premium membership or you want to pay for it, or like DLC essentially. If you want to pay the extra DLC cost, then you can have those features back.
Yeah.
The Old Republic itself, like it must be doing good in that regard because I think it's got like 4 or 5 expansions, but that game would have been tremendously more entertaining and just like a better buy had it just been a single player RPG, because BioWare does a good job at single player RPGs. Like they do great.
Come to find out they did do that. I think it plays very much like Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah,
and those were fantastic, both of them.
Yeah, I heard that they're making a third one or they're just remaking the other 2, but I don't know
yet. I refuse to look into it because I will not be teased again.
Yeah. I also played a game called Ragnarok Online.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, the class system was very interesting. That you could be, it kind of did the Final Fantasy thing where you could be all the classes, and that was very interesting. It felt like it kind of worked in that environment, similar to how it works in Final Fantasy, essentially.
Yeah, it's a memory I haven't thought about in a while. Yeah, Ragnarok Online, holy shit.
I think the 2 most obscure MMOs, if you want to call it that, I've ever played. RuneScape's not really obscure, but it's kind of like an obscure experience I had. I played that, and I played this game. Do you remember Gaia Online?
Gaia Online.
Do you remember that at all?
That name is really familiar. Gaia Online.
It was a very cringy website back then that all teenagers who like anime and stuff hung out on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
Is the
remember.
cringe coming back?
Yeah, in waves, bro. Holy shit, Gaia Online.
Yeah, so eventually they came out with this MMO called Zomygod, so ZOMG, and it was a
Oh,
weird MMO world that they created where you just use your Gaia Online avatar.
oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and all your abilities were linked to like you wore rings and like the
Hmm.
rings had special powers and like that's how you did your abilities and stuff like that. And they
Oh,
had dungeons and everything and like it was so that's a very obscure one. That's why I found out I had like an MMO dependency issue.
mm-hmm.
Because my computer, I had a computer at the time. My computer completely fried. I went to upgrade it with RAM because like my grandfather when he was alive, like he just worked on computers for a living. And I was like, hey, it's doing all this stuff. He's like, oh, you just need more memory. That's all. Like you have a
Mm.
lot of stuff on there. You need more memory. So we went and got me new RAM and we installed it, and then it was defective because it completely fried my motherboard.
Oh no.
So I lost everything, and then so I had like this basic ass computer he had like in his office pretty much that didn't do anything, and I was like, I can't play WoW on this.
Yeah.
And I got really antsy. I was just like, holy shit, like I need something to do. I realized I haven't, I was in college at the time, so like I would just, my life was just playing WoW till like 2 or 3 in the morning, sleeping till noon, going to class, coming back in the evening and playing till 2 or 3 in the morning, and that
Yep.
was my fucking life.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't play WoW anymore, and I was like, this is awful.
It really sucks. Like, I've called WoW virtual heroin for years because that's what it is. It is a fucking dependency. And I mean, that is excellent, like psychology in video games. Like, how can we make this as addictive as possible?
Mm-hmm.
And boy, did they hit the nail on the head. Like, even my first experiences with RuneScape, like I said, and I remember being in 7th grade and like I would get home from school and I would get on the family computer and play RuneScape until way later than I was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, that was life. That was life for a while.
So you did.
Yeah, like it's insane that there has to be research done on that. It's like, how can we make this as addictive as possible? Like,
It's the thing where like as long as there's just enough happy buttons being pushed in your brain, you're gonna keep wanting the happy buttons to be pushed.
right.
Like the vibrant level up of like your character digging, or like your whenever it like made the noise for like your profession increase or something like that. That's
Yeah.
that's happy noises. That's happy brain feelings. That's exactly what it is. Loot. That's what loot boxes are nowadays, but that's what loot was back then. It was like every time you get a piece of gear, you're just like, oh, the happy feeling in my brain is there. Boop. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like, it's insane stuff, dude.
I have a funny story about RuneScape.
Oh
'Cause,
yeah, let's hear it.
RuneScape was the game I went to after my motherboard fried and I couldn't play WoW. And I went to it and I was like, all right, like I'm just gonna gather a bunch of ore. And I thought it was like World of Warcraft where I could gather a bunch of ore, level my blacksmithing, make armor for me to wear, and like just do it that way. So I filled my inventory with ore. Like I scoured the world for about a good hour and a half, just finding all the ore I could.
Yep.
Um, and then I got lost, and I like couldn't open the map up. Like I opened the map up, and I was like, "Where the fuck am I?" And I was like, "Well, I need to like smelt all this ore because I can't pick up anything anymore." So I went for like another good like hour and a half trying to find a city of some kind to like smelt this ore. I finally found a city, and I found a forge, and I was like, "Awesome." So I go up to the forge, and it's like, "You need a hammer to use the forge," and I was like, "Fuck this game."
Yeah, I'm done with this.
And I stopped playing it. So yeah, I spent 3 hours on RuneScape, and that was my experience.
That's very accurate. Like, that is how that game functions. Like, you need this to do that, and if you don't have this, you're fucked.
Yeah. So those were some of the fun things.
Yeah, man.
Kid.
Dude, RuneScape was a lot of fun. Like, I wish I could tap back into that, but unfortunately, I went to go play it again a few years ago. Like, probably 4 years ago now. And I logged in, and everything was different. It was because now you can, like, I think pay for a membership now and play, like, RuneScape Classic, which is, what we played. And then I tried to play, like, the new version, and I was like, nope, too different. Don't like it. Hate it. Done.
They have like I thought RuneScape Classic was like free or something like that. Like, don't they have like a mobile version of it or something?
They do have it on mobile, but like I said, this was a few years ago, like 2016 or so, 15. Somewhere in there. Anyway, yeah, like, because I was like, how do I play the classic version? And it's like, oh, if you have a membership, you can do that. And I'm like, I've never once paid for RuneScape, and I will never pay for RuneScape. Heck no.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's not good enough. I mean, it's like I said, it pushes the happy chemicals, but
Yeah.
I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, in World of Warcraft especially, somewhere along the line, a lot of MMOs and a lot of video games even, they just became like grinding for the sake of grinding as opposed to like doing something fun.
Oh yeah. I think that's covering their bases for content with repetitive things. I think it's just bad programming. Like,
no, I agree. I
it's
think
lazy.
that's what WoW does now, especially. I mean, I don't know if I'm ready to dive into the WoW beast yet, but that's what WoW does now, because instead of good content, it's just highly, highly, highly grindy, repetitive content.
Yep.
In order to keep you coming back. It's a chore, essentially. And so one thing I want to talk about, like, chore-wise, is Final Fantasy XIV. Because that was an MMO I played throughout the years. I played it when it first came out, played it when the first expansion came out, played it when the third expansion came out. I just tried it. I came back to it pretty much. Like, whenever a new expansion came out, I was like, oh, I wonder how this game's doing. And I would just keep coming back to it like a long-lost friend, you know?
Okay.
I'd always stop playing it for WoW, like an idiot. But I always went back to it for a little while, and I was like, I just want to see how things are going. And that is a good example of, like, World of Warcraft, for example, going downhill constantly. Yeah. Every time I came back to Final Fantasy XIV, it was just better in some way. They just improved it in some way. It was just a better experience more and more. And a lot of that is fan feedback. They listen to their fans. Their fans will be like, we don't like this. And the developers will be like, okay, like, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm talking about, like, the 10% of people are like, we fucking hate this. It's like the vast majority of the players are like, no, this is terrible. People are like, okay, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
You know? Instead of announcing the new expansion and being like, hey, that thing you don't like, there's more of it in this one.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
You know, it's just, they care about their fans. And I would say the biggest contrast to World of Warcraft and, like, Final Fantasy XIV, for example, is you log on to Final Fantasy and you're like, what do I want to do today? You log on to WoW and it's like, what do I have to do today?
Yeah, no shit.
And that's what Final Fantasy is. There's a vast majority of different ways to play that game. You can treat it like a single player MMO and just do group content when it, like, you have to, essentially.
Really?
But other than that, single player RPG. You can do the elite stuff and go for, like, the big high clears of, like, the hard content. You can go for mounts if you want. Just do the obscure things you need to do for mounts. Like, the transmog system in that game is otherworldly. Like,
really?
I think mog hunting in WoW is good. Like, oh my gosh. Final Fantasy, like, yeah, the guild I'm in right now, they've been super supportive of the podcast. I haven't played for a few months just because I've got some personal stuff going on. So I've just been taking a break from that and just kind of doing other things, working on this. And they've been super supportive of that, super supportive of everything. Like, I'd say it's a big step up is the community as well. You don't have this toxic cesspool of community like you do in World of Warcraft and other games. It's the community in Final Fantasy is great.
Oh, that's this, because I've never played Final Fantasy. To me, WoW felt like purposely divided. Like, it's, you know, supposed to be two factions at war. And I think that by purpose separates people, because, like, you ever notice when you find somebody else that plays WoW, and you ask them, like one of the first questions that gets asked is, like, what side did you play on? Like, I think that's a fatal flaw. Like, I think an MMO community should be inclusive, but not to say that the WoW's community isn't inclusive, but, like, that divide is built in. So, just a thought.
That is a good point. I have things to say about that as well.
Okay, cool.
Actually, regarding that, but yeah, just, you know, I guess let's just finish Final Fantasy thing. Like, it's a great game. I don't know if you can do the trial yet because they shut down the creating new account system for a while because, like, the new expansion was so popular.
Oh, good.
But their trial consists of you get to play the first expansion for free and the second expansion for free.
Really?
And that's a lot of story for free. Like, that's a lot of content for free.
Really?
And, yeah, you can do all that up to a certain level and certain, like, part of the story. It's a great trial-based game, and it feels good on console too. Like, when games have, like, a divide of, like, oh, you can play it on PC or on console, I'm usually just like, wow, did I not play it on PC? But it feels like a Final Fantasy game. Like, it feels good on controller.
Really?
I actually heard a lot of people who played on PC, they still use a controller because it just feels good.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck ever. Anyway, not trying to dive into the WoW thing again, but like, good luck ever playing that with controller.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think I'm ready for the WoW thing, honestly.
Oh, perfect.
I think I am. I think, buckle up. This is where the negativity is going to come into play.
Oh, perfect.
Speaking of that thing you're talking about, like factions being divided, apparently the newest update, they're removing all of that. There's
What?
no longer two sides. It's going to be like you can just play together no matter what.
No.
Yeah.
What? That's a very important part of that. Like I said, it's built in for a reason. Jesus, man.
So WoW
really?
used to be special for a lot of reasons in that way because, yeah, like you said, there is that immediate divide of like, did you play Horde or Alliance?
Yeah.
But people used to take pride in their faction. They'd be like, yeah, I'm definitely for the Horde for a reason. Or people like, yeah, I'm for the Alliance for a reason. They got into their characters even. They'd be like, yeah, I fucking love this dwarf fighter I am, or I love this fucking like undead rogue that I am. Like, I know the history of these races perfectly. Like,
Yeah.
I care about being these things.
Yeah.
And that's what it used to be, and I don't know if people have that anymore. I think that divide you were talking about, maybe that's just a long-term effect of a divide, but it feels like people don't care about the lore of the game anymore or anything about it.
Yeah, I've got plenty to say about that. So I jumped from Pandaria to Shadowlands.
Pandaria is when the game with the shit, in my opinion.
I love Pandaland.
Ugh.
Like, ding, I knew we were going to fight on that, but I love Pandaria. It was the first expansion that I was actually raid ready, and got to, like, be in control of some shit. That was really fun. I really liked that, but, I thought, yeah, Kung Fu Panda's cool. I'm sorry. I just think that's cool. But, yeah, just, like, going into all that, I made some work friends, right? And that's who drugged me back into it, you know? And like an idiot, I stuck that dirty needle right back into my arm and dragged my wife with me.
It feels like going back to like an abusive ex, really,
Yeah,
is what it
really.
feels like. It's like all your friends are like, no, they're doing so much better. Like, they're a totally different person. You guys broke up, and you're like, all right, maybe I'll hang out with them.
Yeah. And it turns out, that was horse shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so they got me back into it, and, like, it was her first experience with an MMO. And I thought, you know, okay, if you want one that's like lore rich, like I read Arthas, I read Rise of the Horde, like got super into that, you know, because I cared about the lore. I thought the aesthetic was awesome. So I got her into it, and she got super into trolls, right? Really into that, like read up on her race, did all that cool stuff.
Yeah. Which troll faction did she choose though? That's very important. Is she a blood troll? Is she a Zandalari troll? Is she a Gurabashi troll? Like,
Zandalari, I believe.
oh yeah, Zandalari is
Yeah,
my
because
favorite.
we jumped in like 2 or 3 weeks before Shadowlands dropped, so we got to play BFA, which like had that whole like expansion on like their lore and their customs and all that. She got super into like reading about it online. So she was like I said, hella invested in that. And then my buddies from work were like, yeah, like let's play or whatever, and they were literally just in it to grind the levels, get the gear, and that was it. I was like, do you guys even know what's going on, or do you even care what's going on in the storyline? And they're like, no, not really. And I was like, damn, you're playing the wrong game then, buddy.
Those kind of people that break my heart in Final Fantasy XIV, because there are people who like proudly are like, I've never watched a single cutscene in the game. I just skip them every time they come up. Like, I don't know what's happening in the story, but I'm max level. Look at me, I'm cool. I'm just like, oh, you make me sad. You really do.
Yeah, good for you, man.
Yeah, that's so. I think that's a majority of where the downfall went to. So the reason why I think that Pandaria was the beginning of the game being shit and like the final nail in the coffin to it being shitty is that was the expansion where Mythic Raiding came out. I think Mythic might have been introduced in Cataclysm. I can't remember. But that was the expansion where all the... Like, Mythic was insane in Pandaria. Like, it took, like, each fight was, like, 10, 15 minutes long because, like, it took so long to do it. And, like, speaking as someone who has, like, been really into Final Fantasy raiding, those fights are exhausting, man. Like, oh, man. Some of the harder content I've been into, or I was into lately, like, man, some of those fights are, like, 10, 15 minutes long. I hear that the extreme, or they're called Ultimates, I believe. That's the highest tier of raiding in Final Fantasy. Those fights can be, like, 20 minutes long, easy.
Jesus, really?
And those people, like... You know, they're really into it. I'd love to try it. I'd love to get prepared for it. The thing is that how the ultimates work is like they usually go back to like a previous boss you already fought in the game, but just make it harder.
Okay.
And so you have to be the appropriate level in order to fight it, because the game's flexes like that. Like you can be like a max level character, but then like do level 20 content with your friend. Like it doesn't matter, and it
Oh, really?
scales you down to it. Yeah. So if it's like a level 60 raid boss, for example, you fought in like the second expansion, you will be level 60 when you fight it as an ultimate fight.
Mm-hmm.
So your gear actually matters a lot, because you have to go back and be like, well, what was like the best stuff for this tier when I was this level, because that'll have the best stats for you to kind of like
Compensate.
work around it. Yeah, so you have to kind of figure out like it's just a lot of preparation, and apparently there are mechanics that, like, if one person fucks it up, like the entire thing is done, like it's wiped.
Like a real.
Yeah, like it seems like very stressful, but I really want to try and do it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to raid hardcore in World of Warcraft, so you know. No, I agree with you on the just people not caring about what's going on. I mean, like I said before, like in Pandaria, I think a vast majority of the players were done, pretty much. Like the people who actually cared about the story, they weren't there anymore. You had just like, a lot of elitist douchebags who were just like, you have to be this, you have to do that in order to play this with me. Like,
yeah, that was pretty much my friend group going through Pandaria, and that's why we divided. That's why we split. Like, I'm not friends with those people anymore for that reason.
that is a large majority of what Blizzard catered to was the problem, because you can see that in Warlords of Draenor. They had like the like challenge mode content, they had like the mythic content, the challenge mode mythic, like whatever content, like they had so much stuff that like was just needlessly difficult
For the sake of being difficult.
and that's what people who like thrive on that stuff want. And like when you start getting into that level of things, you lose the majority of your fan base, because a lot of people did care about their class, they cared about what was going on in the story. I think a lot of it too is like this has just been happening with society in general. Like people are a lot more sensitive than they used to be. And a big issue with the story in WoW is like, I'm not saying the writing is good.
It's passable.
Lately it's maybe passable. I'm talking about lately. I think the writing before was good, but so like my favorite experience was Wrath of the Lich King.
Oh yeah, dude, Wrath
Like,
is amazing.
Who didn't love Wrath of the Lich King? And I like Cataclysm too.
I did not.
There are people who are so sensitive to what happened in the story that they're like, I can't play this game anymore. Like, this person was way too mean in the story. I can't handle it. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like,
Yeah, just
seriously. Like, if anything, like, make the story up as you go. My friend Kevin and I played WoW the most together, and we had this whole thing where our characters basically went through the story, and like whatever happened in the game that we could like quantify into like a narrative, we added that to our characters' backstories essentially.
Oh, that's cool.
So we have this long-standing journey of like what our characters have done and been through and stuff like that. And like when I took a break from WoW for like 6 months, when my computer fried, like there's a reason for that. My character was like gone mysteriously.
Oh, cool.
Like there's this whole narrative surrounding that, and like you can do the same thing. Like if you don't agree with something does in the story, like don't complain about it. Just be like, yeah, my character's strongly not for it. My character does not agree with it. My character's not into it.
Yeah, you know, like the RPG that it is.
Yeah,
you know?
like that's like watching a movie and being like, well, I don't like it, so I couldn't possibly ever watch it again. It's just not going to happen. Like you can not like something, that's fine, but don't be that person. Like,
Yeah, no.
Don't be like the bad guy was too mean. I can't watch that movie. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like that's not a good critique. That's not a good review. And like, don't be that person.
A bad antagonist makes a great movie. Like, that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I could talk about WoW without talking about the whole Sylvanas thing, because I have to defend Sylvanas at all costs. Well, not at all costs. So my issue with it is that, like I was saying, with people not caring about the lore anymore, people are saying that when Sylvanas burned down Teldrassil, that she was out of character. She was suddenly evil, and Blizzard's using her as a scapegoat to be suddenly evil.
no.
And I was like, Sylvanas has always been evil.
Yeah.
She is a lawful evil character. That is her alignment. Ever since World of Warcraft, ever since Warcraft, she has been like, yeah, we'll help you, but our goal is to kill Arthas. So you help us survive, we'll help you survive, but our goal is this.
Right.
Think about what you do in the Undead Starting Zone. You are testing new plague concoctions, testing things that can kill undead, because you're going to kill Arthas. That is the Forsaken's goal.
Yeah.
That
tracks.
I'm not saying that, like, it's a good thing. I'm not saying I'm like, yeah, down with the fucking Night Elves. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that, especially since I played the Horde side of that mission, where she explains, like, yeah, I know it's fucked up, but this is the quickest way to end the war. If we take away their hope, we take away their their champion, Malfurion, we take away Teldrassil, it'll destroy their spirit. They will not fight back. The war will be over.
Yeah.
It's a perfect lawful evil explanation for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And
100% agree.
And that's been like the biggest thing. People hate that, and they're just like, oh, it completely ruined WoW for me. I'm like, because she's her character? Like,
yeah, she did a very Sylvanas thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hate the accusations she's suddenly evil. I'm like, she's always been evil. She's not a good person. She's vengeance filled. Like, she's lawful evil.
Yeah, I mean, she's literally resurrected by hate. So,
yeah.
like...
I would say she's lawful evil, like, bordering on, like, chaotic evil, maybe.
Yeah, she's a loose cannon for sure. Like,
yeah, like, that's her alignment. Maybe it's because those people haven't played D&D, I don't know, but, like, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's the thing, too. Like, that's the difference. Like, you dug into the lore, you did the reading, and you cared enough about the character to be able to make a call like that. Again, I guarantee you there's the same fan base in World of Warcraft that have never sat through a cinematic, who don't know anything about these characters, and are making judgment calls like that. Like, pick a lane. Either care about the story, or don't. But you can't have your cake and eat it, too, in this situation. Like,
it's true, yeah. That's very true. And so I think my point is that the fans are as much to blame as the game for sucking as it is.
100%.
But not entirely. Blizzard made some very questionable choices, and I don't agree with them. One thing Blizzard's done repeatedly over the years is try to make it what everybody wants.
Mm-hmm.
The people will be like, well, I want this in it, I want this in it, I want this in it. But like, okay, sure, it's all in there now. It's a shitty game because of that. You have these weird Farmville Facebook game.
Oh, the Garrison?
Yeah, like, it doesn't make any sense. You've got these really repetitive, like, treasure hunting missions. You've got extremely hard content. Like, for a brief while in BFA, I was doing the Mythic Pluses.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, why the fuck would anyone like doing this? Because all it does is add these levels where it's like, yeah, enemies explode now. They have twice as much health. Enemies hit you, and then you take burn damage the entire time. There's random puddles that spawn constantly. Even the mode that they came up with at the end where, like, you got this corruption mechanic, that made the game harder. Like, it's supposed to make you stronger, but it, like, makes this weird shit happen to your character constantly, and it makes the game so much fucking harder. It's hard for the sake of being hard, and it doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand why that's a thing.
The unnecessary difficulty spike, because, again, episode coming soon on this, but it had to be the Dark Souls of MMOs, man. God, that pisses me off so bad. Like, I don't understand anything being hard for the sake of being hard. Like, Dark Souls isn't even hard. It's challenging. Like, anyway, I've got a whole episode planned on that, but yeah, and I just feel like it falls in that vein directly.
I agree. I mean, along the same topics, I hate artificial difficulty in video games.
Oh yeah.
There's stuff that's hard because it's hard, and there's stuff that's hard because, like, this is needlessly hard. Like, this is tedious. This is not difficult. This is tedious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what World of Warcraft has become. And as a result, I mean, it's barely recognizable. And one thing as well that Final Fantasy XIV does much better is accessibility.
Really?
You play as a new character in Final Fantasy, like, you're brand new to the game, it's accessible. My girlfriend, who, like, does not play MMOs, we've played World of Warcraft a couple times together. Like, I've tried to get her to play that a few times, but, like, for the most part, she doesn't play MMOs. I got her into Final Fantasy, and she picked it up immediately. It's so highly accessible to people who just aren't part of that world normally, that she can still enjoy it and still like what's happening without it being, like, just ramming her in the face constantly, being like, yeah, this is fucking hard, deal with it. Like, or, like, you're not allowed to do this if you can't do this kind of thing. Like, it's just an enjoyable game, and really anybody can play it, and that's what I like about it, is the accessibility. I've tried playing WoW, actually, as a new character, because I have a lot of heirloom bullshit that, like, you make a new character, the first thing you do is load up all your heirlooms.
Yeah, twinks, yeah.
Yeah, I tried twinking. That's one thing that ruins it, man. I miss in classic WoW, like, twinking your character and just, like, level 19 PvP as a rogue is so fun. Yeah, no, it's just, I tried making it as a new character, so I didn't use heirlooms. I just made a new character, and I was like, I'm just going to play as if I was new.
Yep.
And it's very difficult because things have a lot of hit points, things have a lot of defense, and, like, if I'm not using, like, my legendary heirloom weapons, like, takes a long time.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
That artificial difficulty thing you're talking about, this is to keep you on the grind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to let that infection seep into you until you can't fucking live without it.
Well, it goes a step further because I was like, okay, like what if I like level profession? So I was like, I was playing a Tauren warrior, so I was like, all right, what if I like level blacksmith? What if I like start making my own weapons, my own armor? What if I do that? So I went through the effort, started grinding out materials and stuff like that. It increases my chances of survival a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would say not nearly as easy, but it is comparable to heirlooms, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
It does provide the edge you need to kind of get where you're wanting to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that is more things that the game is forcing you to do. Because now you have a thing where like, well, I'd really like to get to level 30 today, but I need to grind out more ore so I can get better armor and weapons so I don't fucking die in this next zone. And people aren't going to want to play the game if that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have never done professions in Final Fantasy. You don't have to, and I don't want to for whatever reason. I'm just not into it. I haven't tried them yet, but they don't look fun, so I haven't tried it yet. But
well, cool, man. Is that not what it's all about? If you're not having fun with it, why the fuck are you doing it?
Yeah,
I feel like that's like, dude. So something I was thinking about in preparation for this, I was thinking about something that impacts MMOs and the hobby as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, that elitist, hardcore gamer mentality. Like, I was on the internet just a few days ago, and I watched a dude beat Slave Knight Gale in Dark Souls 3 on grapes. I shit you not.
On grapes?
Literally put electrodes into grapes.
What?
For the buttons.
That's impossible. Really?
I will link you. I'll
that
link you in a minute.
Cannot be real.
It's a real thing, dude. It's nuts. I watched this and I was like, first of all, this is nothing but showing your dick. Like, look what I can do with grapes, for one,
mm-hmm.
but also on this video game. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, and I feel like that's disheartening to people like myself who struggled their whole way through all of those games. I feel like so much of the community has turned casual into a 4-letter word, and I don't like that. I really don't, because like I said before, we do this to have fun, right? Like, we got passion for it, and it's a good way to have fun. And I feel like that's starting to slide really fast, and I hope it stops, because I like enjoying video games, and I don't want it always to be, a competitive nightmare. Even on things that aren't naturally competitive, like even on things that don't have like online competitive modes and things like that. I feel like that's one of the things I feel like in Ghost of Tsushima they really shoehorned in there was that online competitive mode.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, it was cool, but why, Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox on that, but that's just how I feel about it.
As a person who was part of that elitist crowd for a while, I agree with you, and I came out the other side, I feel, as a better person, because man, I used to be part of that crowd. Maybe that's why I liked part of World of Warcraft so much. It's like just how much of like a huge dick rogue I used to be. But man, like I was scouted by the top guild on my server.
Oh shit.
And I was basically like very famous on my server because people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's that rogue that pugs a lot. Like you should definitely bring him with you." Because my guilds just like weren't doing what I wanted them to do, and I was like, "You guys are fucking casuals. Like I'm just gonna like pug with this person to like get this fucking thing done." And if they couldn't clear the boss in like a couple pulls, I was like, I'm leaving. Bye, you guys suck. Like I'm not doing this.
Oh really?
Yeah, I was also really good at PvP. People used to duel me outside the Wargrimmar like exclusively. They'd be like, "Hey, are you that rogue no one can fucking beat?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, that's me.
It got so bad that people started being like, "Hey, my friend wants to duel you, but like he only plays Alliance." And I was like, "Well, fucking have him join the Horde or like whatever. I'm not gonna do it."
Yeah.
But eventually, I did actually make an Alliance dwarf rogue.
Oh, nice.
And the reason for it was because Ironforge used to have this thing where you could duel inside the city, but only in one area.
Mm-hmm.
If you dueled, there was this like coal pit essentially that if you stand on it, you took like 1 to 3 damage like every second.
Okay.
So I would only duel people on that because if you lost, you died because it would get you down to 1 hit point. The duel would end, but then it deal 1 damage to you, you'd fall over dead.
Oh, nice.
And I would only duel people there. I'd be like, yeah, stakes are high, but
oh yeah,
used to duel for money. Like I was really high, like I think I had like a 2200 arena rating, like back when that was like the high point of arena rating. Or yeah,
oh, nice.
Like I was really into it. I've been like that with a lot of games. I've been with League of Legends. I've been like that with Overwatch. I've been like that with Destiny PvP. Like
League.
And that toxic gameplay is what's ruining things like that. Because just like World of Warcraft, League used to be fun, and then it was not anymore. Overwatch used to be fun, and then it was not fun anymore.
I can say that I've dumped hours into League, and never once have I had fun with that goddamn game. You know when I had the most fun with that? When I was learning how to last hit with bots. That was when I had fun, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I jumped in and I found the community, and I was like, wow, where the fuck is the mute button? I'm not dealing with this shit. Like, remember I was playing Silver bot lane once, and I died one time, like 4 minutes in, I died one time and just got this hate feed, like, oh, kick the Sivir, they're feeding, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, first of all, at the time, I didn't even know what the fuck that meant. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, oh, these are criticisms. These guys are being fucking mean to me. Fuck this game.
I can tell you from experience, even if you're winning, the community is so bad that they will still hate on you for it. Because they're pissed off that you're doing better than they are. I remember one time my bot support. I played ADC a lot. That's basically what Silver would have been.
Yeah, ADC
my support DC'd or didn't want to play. I don't fucking know anymore. But I was bottom lane alone, and doing just fine by myself.
Oh, nice.
And like everyone was pissed about that for some reason. I was like, I don't need support. It's fine. They're like, just let them have bot and like come help us up here. I'm like, no, I got this. It's fine. And then I ended up getting like several double kills because like they'd both try and gank me, and I'd be like, I'd kill them both with good timing. And people were like, oh, fuck this guy. Like, he's not even fucking trying to help the team. I'm like, I just got 2 kills. I'm the ADC. Like, I'm supposed to carry you guys. Like, what do you want from me? So, even if you're doing well, they're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah, well, fuck that community then. Like, I think the aesthetic is cool. I think the gameplay is strategic and awesome. I just cannot get over that curve of the community, man. Like, I've yet to play a single game where there wasn't just walls of hate speech in the text box. That sucks.
Somehow people have got to the point where they'll watch pros play, and because pros do in a certain way, they'll say negative shit, and so they'll be like 5 minutes into the game, like, we already lost. We haven't done this by this point. We already lost. The game's over. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's not. No.
It's not formulaic like that.
I mean, if you play in a pro league, it probably is, and those people are on a whole other level. Like, we don't play League of Legends compared to what they play.
No, yeah, no.
But, man, it's like World of Warcraft. I have good memories of the game before it was terrible. There's some great matches I've had where, like, we pulled a victory out of our ass, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one was like our team was getting stomped, so I started the back door, and I was playing a character that was like, I was basically trying to be the tank, and being the tank wasn't working, so I had managed to kill a couple of their towers into their base, and like their nexus was exposed. Like I could fight the nexus, but I kept getting killed every time I went to back door. They'd fucking kill me. There's this thing where you could drop totems and then teleport to the totems, and so while they're invading our base, I was like, guys, just wait a minute and 30 seconds until I respawn. I'm gonna win us the game. They're like, no, we fucking lost. Like, we should surrender. I'm like, no. Just wait a minute and 30 seconds before I come back. So I sold all of my armor that was keeping me alive, bought nothing but damage and attack speed items with the gold I got from it, teleported into their base, and like killed their nexus as they were trying to kill ours. And the screen literally froze because the game didn't know what to do.
Oh, shit.
Because it like started to like, it focused on like one point like it does when the game is over. Yeah. And then it slowly went over to their nexus and saying victory.
Oh, shit.
And everyone's like, oh, GG Darius. Wow. Did that just fucking happen? Oh, yeah. And like that kind of stuff, like that's what League was, that's when it was fun, you know?
Yeah. Dunking with Darius.
Nice. Yeah.
I've never had, like I said, a single enjoyable experience playing the game other than playing against bots.
Yeah.
It's just not... It's not for me, I guess. It really sucks, but you know, whatever. I'm not mad about it. It's fine.
I think the last thing I want to say before we wrap things up, just going back to World of Warcraft, it has repeatedly gone downhill, and more and more updates keep coming out about it. That makes me happy I no longer play it.
Really?
And with everything happening now, the latest announcement being like, yeah, we're racing factions, like everyone can play together. everyone's pushing for like, oh, let's like get rid of class restrictions too. Like every race can be every class, and like that doesn't make sense for the lore, but okay.
Oh yeah, Undead Paladin, fuck off.
I hate Undead Hunter. I don't care if there's a reason for it. I think Undead Hunter and Monk is stupid.
Yeah.
But I mean, Hunter's okay, but Monk especially I hate. But it's just the more and more things like that, I'm scared of what's going to look like in a few years. I think it's going to be this thing that I remember fondly many years ago, but it's not that anymore. It's gone. It is not that anymore.
It's going to be a Cronenberg monster of a game.
Yeah, and I just more and more I'm just happy that I'm not a part of that community anymore. And more I'm just happy that I don't invest time in that game anymore because man,
yeah,
it's kind of like watching a friend you really care about, you know, like they started going on a dark path and you're like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't do that, and they kept doing it anyways, and now finally you're just like, I can't help you anymore.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry.
I kind of have the same sentiment. I can't say that I'll never go back. I mean, now that you're telling me the factions are gone, maybe not. I might find something else to play, but that really sucks though, because
Final Fantasy XIV.
I mean, dude, like I said, I'll give anything a bash once. I'll try any game once.
That's amazing.
I mean, yeah. Well,
and you can play it for free, so I mean, there's no reason not to.
Oh, free 99. Nice.
Yeah, free until you finish the second expansion, like I said.
And all the content's unlocked?
Yeah. I think the only thing that you don't get is if you are not actively paying for a subscription, if there's a queue, you are behind everyone who pays for the game, which I think is fair.
That's totally
honestly.
fair.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that yeah, okay, cool. As soon as they lift the new account thing.
Yeah, I'll definitely check out, see if it is not. I plan on going back to it. I've got a lot of stuff going on in the next few months. Definitely gonna return. I didn't stop playing Final Fantasy because it's not a good game. I just got real life happen. I got other stuff I gotta deal with, but I plan on going back. So, yeah, I still keep in contact with my guild. We still talk in Discord all the time. Yeah, shout out to Loveless. That's the guild name.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Go Loveless.
Yeah, right? So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice Crisis Core nod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly one of the reasons why when I was looking for a guild, I was just like, I'll put that on the yes list.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I went through the process of I basically reached my limit as a solo player. I was like, I can pug a bunch, but there's not much else I can do by myself.
Right.
And so I went on the little forums to be like, what are good guilds? And like I narrowed it down to 3. One of them never got back to me. One of them was gone the next day, and then the third one was Loveless. So I'm happy with my choice. I'm glad that they got back to me instead of the other guild because, like I said, they're a bunch of awesome people. For Halloween, we did a costume contest.
Oh, cool!
And then we did a murder mystery, which was fun. So
that's super cool. So you guys are super involved. Wow.
Yeah, it was great. So I guess bottom line, WoW sucks. Final Fantasy is good. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, sounds good to me. Like, yeah. That's pretty much all I've got on MMOs. Like I said, my experience is limited, but had quite a bit to say.
Same here. So what I want you to do in the comments, other than doing the whole like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, tell us about your WoW experiences. I'm sure everyone's played WoW at this point. If you're watching this video, you've probably played WoW. Mm-hmm. Tell us your experiences. Tell us why you chose Horde. Tell us why you chose Alliance. Tell us how you feel about everything. I want to hear about it. And if you are just listening to this podcast via Anchor, then, you know, find us on YouTube and tell us your stories because we want to hear about them. I also have my Twitter account in the description as well. So, yeah, reach out to me there.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from everybody. Like, just, you know, this is, you know, forum discussion.
Yeah. You know, we're just passionate guys who need to talk to other passionate people, bottom line. So
absolutely.
All right, well, on that note, my name is Aiden.
And I'm Matt.
And that's been Still Living.